let's begin from the very core of this discussion today. And security is one of the biggest challenges. You know, we're just talking off camera about, you know, some stats that shows how many people have been kidnapped and how many people have died. That was as at December 2024, right? And then the question becomes, how do we first, let's begin from here, how do we mobilize citizens, you know, to tackle the rising security challenges in a nation like this?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Great. I think it's important to mention that issues around peace and security of any nation state is not the sole responsibility of the government or of the state. And that is why the Constitution in Chapter 2 was very clear in terms of the rights, obligations, and duties, you know, of a citizen, you know, of a country. I think where the major problem is the issue of enlightened citizenship. You need an enlightened citizenship to perform that level of constitutional role, you know, that is expected of a citizen. And when I mean enlightened citizen, a citizen that understands his right, understands his obligation, you know, within the nation state, you know, and then can carry that out. And I think the Nigerian state also, to a very large extent, you know, have tried as much as they can, you know, to ensure that we have enlightened citizenship. And what do I mean by that? The processes of socialization starts from the family. The Nigerian educational system, which is 6334, the first 6, which is the primary basic level up to junior secondary school, is literally free. So it's expected that an average Nigerian citizen or all Nigerian citizens should key in, you know, to that basic education level, which is the first level of socialization of any Nigerian citizen, for that citizen to be able to align to the Nigerian state. But where there is a disconnect, like what we find in terms of the huge number of out-of-school children, the high rate of illiteracy, you know, and out-of-school dropout and all that, all those things pose significant challenge, you know, to the country and to the state. And what that means is that when you have that level of unenlightened citizenship, it obviously will pose security challenge and the kind of challenges that we are having now. So education and the process of socialization at the respective levels, you know, in terms of the family, the community, the religious institutions and all that, are critical centers for social mobilization, you know, of citizens, for them to relate properly with the state and to have a very peaceful kind of society.
All right, let's bring in Barrister Ezeala. What do you have to say to that question? Go ahead.
I think the critical aspect is hunger. Check all the
All right, we're going to come back to Barrister Ezeala. Let's continue. He has brought up something very crucial. You know, you've pointed out education, and it's a very, very important point. And he has brought in hunger. We can smile about it, but hunger is a very important thing.
It is. And
then the question then becomes, how do we preach peace and justice in a nation where the people feel like, hey, these people are impoverishing us, these people are leaving us in hunger? How do we preach peace in that situation?
I think that it's important to say that Nigeria is a blessed country. For people like us who've been privileged to travel all the 36 states, including Abuja, everywhere, you know, and not only the state capital, you know, to transverse the nooks and crannies of this country, you know, doing the kind of work that we do, is to tell you that Nigeria is a blessed country. It therefore means that there is no human being who is living in this country that is supposed to be hungry if we tap and utilize effectively most of our resources, both natural and human. But like any other society too, we cannot get perfect situation. So when we talk about hunger, is relative. Hunger can be where there is conflict and there is mass displacements of people, so they cannot end their livelihood. That poses a lot of challenge. Also, when some people have gone to school and getting enlightened, and then they don't have opportunities maybe for job and all that, that also can pose a problem. And that is why it's imperative that stakeholders, you know, understand the vision, the agenda, you know, of government, because it is government that must provide that platform. And the current government, you know, have come up with an 8 priority point agenda, where issues around food security is number 1, issues around inclusion is there, issues around provision for security, they're all things that are there. So what we need, you know, is how do we galvanize enough support, between the state and the citizen to ensure that the governmental priorities that has been set is achieved. I think that we need that level of social mobilization rather than this level of politicking, that we are having. Because thus far, we've been politicizing a lot of things, including the issue of hunger.